Welcome to Creative Vitality Jam Sessions. Here, we have intimate conversations with extraordinary dance and theater artists about reimagining creativity and supporting and building community. Creative Vitality Jam Sessions and I walk in solidarity as allies for equality, justice, and respect. Black Lives Matter, and we must keep walking the walk in order for change to come. I'm Helen Pickett, and today's guest is the iconic Desmond Richardson, co-founder and co-artistic director of Complexions Contemporary Ballet. Desmond and I met and started working together in 1994. There he is. Hi, Desmond.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. How you doing?
Oh, I'm great. It's so great to see you. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. My gosh, too long.
Yeah. So I was just saying where we met.
Right.
And so we met and started working in 1994 at Frankfurt Ballet. We were colleagues there.
That's right. And I first met you because I came to Paris because Francesca Harper called me to Paris when you guys were at the Châtelet, and I was watching you all rehearse, and I was blown away. Like, oh my God, can I be here? You know, thinking like praying.
I remember that. I remember Paris exactly because wasn't Dwight with you?
No,
I believe Dwight came over at some point. Maybe that was for the visit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
He came because I came over by myself to Paris, and then took class with you guys, and then you went into rehearsal. I think you guys were rehearsing a quintet, among other things.
Oh,
but,
wow.
you're doing quintets, I think, enemy and things like that. I was like, what's happening with my world right now?
And maybe Herman Schmerman as well. That could be. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Since we're going down memory lane, I do have to mention to everybody listening that Des and I were part of the original cast of Vertiginous Thrill of Exactitude, among other things. But that picture that's floating around everywhere literally was us coming directly off stage after the premiere. The photographer, Dominique Mensos, put us up against the firewall, remember?
That's
behind
right.
the stage, and we were sweaty.
But we were like, and click.
Exactly, and click several times.
Okay, yeah, get this photo.
So Des, first of all, I ask everybody, where are you in the world?
I am in Harlem, New York, in our beautiful apartment here, and in New York City. It's warm here.
Yeah.
Lot going on, as you very well know, where we're in this pandemic, but I think everybody's trying to find their way within, being in quarantine and trying to figure out how to stay creative within that.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Desmond, I'm just going to read a bit about you because it goes to the heart of the first question. You were a principal dancer with Al Vanelli American Dance Theater, principal with Frankfurt Ballet. In 1997, you became the first African-American principal dancer since the inception of the company. You have an esteemed career on Broadway, as well as film, television, and video. You are a sought-after workshop leader, the co-artistic director and co-founder of Complexions Contemporary Ballet. And I know I have not named everything on purpose because we have to have some other questions. How did this extraordinary journey start?
Well, it started in Queens, New York, where I'm from. And I went on a whim to the audition for the High School of Performing Arts. It's the famed school here in New York. And luckily I got in. They accepted me because I didn't have any training. I had more street dance training, for, if you will. But I knew I had some sort of flexibility because I did gymnastics and all of this, ran track. But I was in no way like a dancer body. not at all. So, but I had a few teachers who just, they saw something in me and they saw my desire, I believe, and my passion. Like I was just crazy passionate about, I want to do dance. And they just honed me and stayed with me. And thus, I had beautiful teachers and mentors in front of me to help me throughout this journey.
You mentioned passion, and I also believe passion doesn't always have to be sewn together with generosity. But this goes to the next question. I remember you and I were at, it was a late spring or early summer party when it was finally, like, it was a sunny day in Frankfurt. And you and I were sitting outside on a little bench, and we were having a conversation about generosity. And I want, if you would like, I would like you to expound on that line of generosity that I see and I have understood in you. I see this as a performer. I've seen it as a coach, as a workshop leader, and I've seen it as a director in those few rehearsals when I would come to Complexions, you know, to see rehearsals. I want you to speak about that line of generosity, because I feel it would be very inspiring and a very telling place for younger people listening to this, and how that thinking shifts your space.
Well, that's to start. I think that we were having that one of those moments where we were finishing rehearsal and we were just like, we were very porous, if you will, and open to whatever. I don't remember what we were learning, or we were working on something. And it needed and required that of us, because all of us in Frankfurt Ballet at that time, our personalities came with technical prowess, all of those things, and we all knew what we wanted to do. But when we were figuring out what we had to do in the you know, we understood that we needed to be generous and open to receive, right? To not be like, well, I'm doing it this way. Okay, that's your way, and we're going to do it this way, and we're going to try many different ways so that we can get to the goal, right? And to me, that generosity just stems from I believe, just how I grew up. My mom was that way, and she was very generous with people, took care of a lot of people. My grandmother was like that. But I would say I kept that part for myself because I had teachers in front of me to say, you know, you have to be looking left and right. I remember Penny Frank used to say that to me. You have to be looking left or right or in front of you, not just like into yourself, but look around, because there's so much to pick up and to be, as I said, porous with you, like receiving energy so that you can actually give over energy. To me, that's the most beautiful about performing. I remember as you talked about vertiginous, is that we all knew there was a goal to be done and to achieve, and we were like, okay, are we gonna get it? Let's go for it. Let's do this and let's knock it out the park. It's super hard, but we're gonna knock it out. It's super hard, but we're gonna knock it out the park. And you know, thus I remember us having this exchange. So that generosity of exchange, I look at Noah, you would look at Laura, I was looking at April, you go into friend. There was this like boop, and not too much conversation. There's not so much, there's the language of dance. So we understood each other through looking and the energy of the moment and how we needed to push, like even the second part, or you would finish and you would come out with, how are we gonna get through this? Oh my God, you know, but that's being generous to not only yourself, to the whole cast that's around you, and opening, just being porous. I believe that that's necessary, not to hold. I'm the dancer. I'm good. Yeah, we're all good here. So it's, and it's necessary to listen to others and not necessarily impede their process or impede your process with the things you think you know. I think that that's really important. You can't do that. Like it's, one shouldn't do that, I don't think. You listen to, you be in control of what you have, for sure, but just be open to look left and right, if you will, and receive, because that's where I learned. I came to Frankfurt Ballet knowing a lot about the theater and things like that, but I had a whole new awakening of how to be not so in looking for the expectation of things, right? So I was expecting, oh, I gotta meet this mark because he's wanting me to do this. No, what are you gonna do with the movement? What are you trying to say? And say it for real and succinctly, so that it does not, it's not powered with all this stuff, meaning pyrotechniques and I'm showy and all of that. Sure, we're gonna do all of that because that's part of dance, but we don't lead with that first. We lead with the other part, doing the work, being simple, listening, honing in, and then producing.
So sharing space, listening space, the word that you're using that I love, porous space, the allowance of that give and take. So those senses, so we're in it, so we're present. That's what I hear. That's what I'm hearing you say. And also integrity. Like we trusted
that one. Integrity.
No, it came out. I'm just summing up. Yeah. No, you were speaking of integrity.
Right.
And because you're speaking of the acceptance of the talent around you, knowing it doesn't take away from you.
Right.
It adds to you.
Right. Oof. Yeah.
And that's what I always found in you. I always, when working with you, and then the years after, I always found that's why I asked the question. Like there was, you were definitely someone with prowess, like we all were, like you said, but you knew there was stuff to learn, and always stuff to learn.
Yeah, because I was like, oh my God. For me, really, when I came to Frankfurt Ballet, I was coming back to sort of more of a ballet head, where I was trained classically. I was in a conservatory. I did all this thing, but I was being in a repertory company like Alvin Ailey. I was doing technique, but that was more modern dance and jazz and, more Broadway styles and things like that, and theatrical dance, where I always honed my technique. I was always over there doing my tendus and releves and all those things, but it wasn't the focus. And I wouldn't say it was the prime focus in Ballet Frankfurt either, but we all were there. Like if we needed to do a classical ballet, we could. So it was that situation, because we understood what that was, the owning that part of the classicism, which helps you to speak, which what I learned really, having my technique liberate me was even more evident. Looking around the room, seeing you over there killing the petite allegro with the feet. I was like, are you kidding me right now? What's happening in my world? Like just, with that dynamicism, or Jill's kind of musicality, or, Fran's power. And I mean, there's all these things and all these people, Tony's quickness and Thomas is like really getting absolutely everything in one moment.
Unbelievable.
So you're like, what's happening? Did you just do that? Or Victoria Mazzarelli, this like just being effort, that's just making it all happen. And you're like, what is happening with me right now?
I know. I totally agree. But I, speak about you, you were incredibly fast. You had beautiful footwork and I always thought that there was this kind of pointed, like it got to a place and it got to a place. You knew how to punctuate, man.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And also just, again, the generosity. So a little bit along the same lines, but this is more about how you handled these two giant things. So as we know, as we said, 1994, you joined Frankfurt Ballet, but you also start a new ballet company with Dwight Rhoden.
right.
And I think it's 26 years now, isn't it?
26 years, yeah. We're
Amazing.
celebrating 26 years. It's crazy to think that I got on the plane once I found the apartment. I got an apartment in Germany, and then thus I was on the plane, and I was like, oh well. And then we had just had this concert in New York for the company, and we didn't even know what it was going to be. It was supposed to be a project. Like it was actually Complexions, a concept in dance, and that concept meaning that it was just we wanted it to be this sort of amalgam of dancers and this crossing of dance styles, because here in New York it was very compartmentalized for sure. The people that were at New York City Ballet or would not be dancing with the people from downtown dance, contemporary dance. That
Uptown and downtown, no.
oh, it's just like,
Yeah.
it was not present. That was not going to happen.
Yeah.
And it would only happen in little things here and there. And we were just like, my God, Dwight being trained classically, I'm trained classically, but with so many different styles, having a sort of a street dance background and all of those things. Well, why can't we fuse this thing and find those people who have like-mindedness? And it's not just about just the ethnicities of people, but the music from different body types. I loved all of that because I wanted to see that, where there could be a sort of conversation within all of that. So it was arduous to.
Yeah, I was going to, the question, like, how did you manage?
Well, we were on the, back then it was no social media. So, it was fax machines and VHS.
That's right.
So he was sending me
and letters.
And letters.
Love letters.
Love letters. We would be making phrases. He'll send me videotape of some of the dancers he would work with, like 2 or 3 dancers. He would say, oh, I work with learn this phrase. Is this working? How is this working? And then we would collaborate, we would call each other, we would fax and be like, no, I think it should go this way. And then maybe, what about this? And so maybe it should be on that side of the stage. Or then.
This is after your day of work in Frankfurt.
Right, and this is during Frankfurt. This is like during. So then if I was performing with the company, then I would learn my phrases, and then either Dwight would come over and teach it to me, and then we'd work on stuff in the living room, just try to figure out things. And then he would tape it, go back, and then I would know my material so that I could step inside of whatever was being rehearsed without me there. And then I knew what was being rehearsed because he was sending me, I have so many old VHS things to pop in. But he was sending me those things and I was like, oh my gosh. So, and because my mind was quick, the dance brain was active at that time. So I was jumping in and trying to make sure that I knew my spacing and things like that. But it was arduous because of the times that we would have off. I would be on the plane coming right back to New York really quickly. Then I'd stay here for 1-2 weeks or a week or something like that. Then I get back to Frankfurt because we got work to do. You did
it because you had to and because you wanted to.
There you go.
That's right.
And I knew it was important. I knew that there was something that was, even Dwight and I, we talk about that all the time. There was something that was happening at that time that was bigger than us, and we needed to answer it. We needed to answer it, and thus we had all these friends coming to us from all these major companies. They were already professionals, and they were coming to us in the evenings and things like that to rehearse with us, and that was just really, I was so in gratitude, and when I think about those moments, I'm still in gratitude of the generosity of those performers like Jody Gates and Christina Johnson and all those people who came to us. They weren't being paid, we gave them a rose and a bottle of wine or something like that, because we didn't have any money at that time, but it was very beautiful to know that they were looking to do something else too. They were looking out to explore.
Yeah, beautiful. So you and I received an honorary doctorate from the same institution, the University of the North Carolina School of the Arts.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what your commencement speech covered.
Well, my commencement speech,
Dr. Richardson.
Dr.
Yeah, well.
Right, and Clemens, yes. Right. Well, I wrote two different things, right? But I settled on moving forward and having that, knowing where you want to go, but being open to change, because we can always set that goal, like I'm doing this, I'm going right for that, and then you veer, whoop, and then you never know, it takes you to another path. So, and you still pretty much get to where you're going, but it makes you, like for me, that's been the path. Like I was like, whoa, who knew I was going to go to Broadway when I did after American Ballet Theater? I was like, oh, that was just a chance happening in an elevator, and I was invited to a rehearsal, and then I went and sang for them, and then I was like, oh my gosh, wow, it's happening. So
Yeah.
I moved into that, but the space and it was open, so I would see being susceptible to it. And I think many of the students got that. I got so many beautiful responses from my speech to them, that I just wanted to, they were just like, thank you so much, because I actually give us, for those of us who do so many different things, we're not just one thing. I don't feel so like tight or encumbered to not stretch out and just let yourself go a little bit inside of these different genres of dance and acting and all of those things. You as well, like as an actress, as doing lines and things like that. That's very important for dancers who have that ability, but sometimes they're like, I only dance, because it's a mute form. So they don't feel like they had the opportunity or the where, or what is it when you're given what is that one thing they say all the time? Oh gosh.
About getting stuck in one thing, or
you're given not just the opportunity, but you're given the permission.
Permission.
Some people need the permission to say, oh my God, well, actually, I do monologues. I was trained as an actor in school. I have that ability too, so it's really beautiful for, like there was one girl who spoke after me, one of the students at University of the Arts. She spoke after me, and it was so eloquent, and she's a writer, but she's an actress. And she was like, I'm not even thinking about being an actress, but people were coming to you, you should get an agent, because the way her delivery was just so beautiful. And she said, I've always had aspirations to do that. And and listening to your speech, I think maybe I should kind of go for that. I said, yeah, I think it's part of your track. So.
Yeah, so you're speaking about the example, which has come up a lot in these talks. And I think so important at this time for those of us like you, like me, like many people that are in our circle, we have, we understood that yes was the opposite of no. So why not just go down the yes pathway and, like you said, see where it takes us, right? Because there will be no's along the way. So when there are yeses, just say yes to it. You might not love it, but you might. And I think right now, when we're all isolating, this word in and of itself, this isolation, I think for anybody, but let's say younger people, to hear that, start manifesting your many pathways now. Right?
Right. That's such a beautiful way to say that. Manifesting your pathways now. That's it.
Yeah, because we have time, right? And when do you have this time? So, change it to I have my days, believe me.
Oh.
Today's a good day.
Trust. Listen, we're all there. But I agree with you. You start to think about other things like that. I love that. Like, we are creative. There are the things that come forth, and you say, you know what? Let me move in that direction. I never tried that. Like, I started sewing pillows and doing shams, and in textiles, and I was like, right, I was always have loved to do that sort of thing. I knit, I crochet. Why am I not doing that right now? And so I thus I began to do that more, and it's just like coming more to fruition how I love
Beautiful.
to work with my hands. Mhm.
Beautiful. So, do you have, or how do you find daily, I'm going to go here. How
Mhm.
do you find, there's two questions I must ask, and then if we have some time after, I'll get there, but these two.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you find daily inspiration? And
Mm.
can you share that with our community?
Mhm. One is my daily inspiration, just being in gratitude. I specifically in this time, it's taught me to be more in gratitude
Mm.
because now, as you said, I have time to think about. I'm not on a plane. I'm not just running here. I'm not just doing this thing, but I'm like thinking about all the things that have come to fruition for me. And I think back and I'm like, wow, look at this. Like all of this has happened because I spoke it into existence. I
Yes.
thought I wanted to, I said, I would love to live in Europe. I love to dance in Europe. I would love for that to happen. I look forward to that happening.
Yeah.
And thus, a call, boom, 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 this happened, and thus things started to move in that direction. But every day is I would say is not a struggle. As a creative person, I think we all look for, especially a movement creative person, that you all look for some sort of time to move. But I've been on these Zoom classes that we've been given. Is that I've been telling the students like actually in this sort of time I have to think back because when I was training, I was doing all of those hundreds of tendus by myself. Releves, releves, releves. I was
That's
like
a good
holding up.
point.
I was doing that by myself, looking in the mirror, doing it, and like passe, hold it, knee back, heel forward. I was doing it all by myself. Of course, I was taking class outside, and it's great to be with others, but that internal work, I was doing that internal work. So by the time I got to class, I'm ready to take the class and receive all the energies that are happening around me. So I can vibe off of all of that. I'm like, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, that ground run, the jump, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all in it. So to me, it's important
You're
to,
ready.
I'm ready. Show up. Yeah, show up
Yeah.
and be ready. Yeah, be ready. So it's, to me, it's important to just, I found right now that I'm calmer in my space right now. I'm calmer instead of being like anxiety driven a little bit because I'm like, I gotta be on that plane. Oh, I'm going to Japan. Oh, I gotta go to
Yeah.
Australia. I gotta get, how am I gonna do it? You know, oh, which hotel? It's okay. All of that probably will come back at some point, but I'm okay right now in this space. And I would say, as a word of advice to those listening, is to be in your space where you are right now and don't push forward out of that right now because A, we don't have the information to do so. You can make your plans for sure. Your plans will have to shift, you know, accordingly. So, and be malleable to do that and not let it disturb your spirit and heart and humanity where you're like, like it's just terrible.
Yeah.
Sure, it's a very hard time in which we're living in, but there's this moment of calm and quiet
Mm.
is important for reflection.
Yeah. I keep looking up to my clock during the interview, so that's why sometimes,
Oh, I'm good. Yeah,
but we're good. We have 15
yeah, yeah.
minutes,
I'm
quite
good.
good. I'm going to ask this next question because I really need to get it in there. And then I will go back to, we only have, well, I'll start.
Yeah.
So part of the reason, so I started this talk show for two basic reasons: to
Mhm.
talk to, I just wrote my amazing friends, and almost everybody said yes. So it's to highlight people in this time, to bring awareness, in another way for people to look at interviews. And it was about, talking about being able to do something else in this time. I've
Mhm.
always walked the walk with the ideas of equity and equality. But
Mm-hmm.
this time I get to do something really tangible. So this talk show and then these things I'm doing called home studies. And so one of the major questions in this talk show is, what do you believe needs to be shifted and changed for a more equitable community? And I know a lot needs to be changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking to that, that equality, if you will, I think just a shift in thinking. I think that there, many of us who are in the arts, we've kind of shifted our thinking already, where it's about the person and it's not necessarily about ethnicity or things like that. There are those obviously in all forms of art who see that first, your skin tone and all of those things. But generally, many of us, if you have the goods, then we're with you. To me, it's that. And I can honestly say I've experienced that, being a first here and dancing at the Mernsky Theater and dancing at the Bolshoi. I mean, those people were like, oh, we're at the bar together. That's it. Do you have it? Like, they're looking at the heels forward. It's not, and this is, the skin is only is an accoutrement, if you will. It's an added feature. Like, wow, fantastic. You have all those things, but it's not like, oh, wow, you can do a double pirouette because, you're Black, or, oh, well, no. No, I did the work because my teacher said,
I've done the work.
Yeah, I've done the work. And that was the level of the class. The class, all of us were turning it 10 times, or it's five or six times, with the heels forward and inner thigh forward. So that's all I know. So this other thing, I'm not trying to go to the other side of that. So doing the work, it equals the playing field. Now, again, those folks who are in particular power, if you will, in those structures, those artistic structures, who operate only from that point of, oh, well, I don't need another person of color or this another. I have one. Well, that's odd. It's just odd because we're all human here. It's odd. So we're human, and that's what I loved about Frankfurt, because the equality and equitability there was all about, can you produce it? I'm all in. I mean, why were 8 of us in the company at one time? I mean, stop it. I mean, 8 people of color at the same time, or 7 or 8, yeah, at one time. So it had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with the individual, the expression of talent, and that's what we wanted to share with everybody inside, so we can push that out. And thus, when people saw the company at that time, those who were living abroad at that time and would see the company were like, oh my God, I can see myself, within it. And that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Instead of thinking, oh, it's a ballet company, they're only going to see white dancers and things like that. And that's okay. If we're in Norway, I don't know if you're going to see too many Black people. It's okay. But if you're in like America and other places, and there are an abundance of people of color, then make it equitable. Just make it just. It doesn't need to be this other thing. And I think that that's what the conversation is going now.
Yes.
Where people are starting to understand, like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. And so now, it's at least the conversations I'm having, is a lot of people are starting to take note of that. They're like, you know what? I didn't even think about it. I just thought that that's what was the status quo. So we went on that.
It's funny though, Desmond, you brought up Frankfurt, which obviously, was very impactful for both of us.
Right.
When I left and I moved to New York, which had been a dream of mine after I retired, I thought, this is how ballet companies looked now. I was that naive. I spent 11 years in that company. And when I looked around, that actually started my journey to say, okay, we need to have companies that look like the face of America. And that started that was that realization when I moved back to New York. And I thought, dance, melting pot, and I was like, oh,
no.
Well, it was so different than
Absolutely.
what we experienced.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's something that Dwight and I, when we started in 1994, even prior to the show in 1994, we had started to do this. And in New York, people were like, why are you doing that? Why would you want to? We even heard that. Why would you want to? Why would she even want to dance with this guy who's going to be in bare feet and she's going to be in point shoes? And I was like, why wouldn't she?
Why not?
Why not? So because he, he was moving his body and then she's doing some, I mean, it's not a novel idea. It's just dance. It's human. So, and thus maybe, coming from Alvin Ailey, then coming to Frankfurt, maybe I took advantage of that a little bit more. Yeah, because it was happening all the time. I didn't think about it. And like you, I was thinking, everything is moving back into this situation, but it wasn't like that. Even when I joined American Ballet Theater, it was like this big thing. I didn't know. I was literally told in the hallway, "Oh, you're like the first." I was like, "First what?" Like, you're like the first African American principal dancer, because there had been guests like
Yeah.
you and Carl Jonasson, who was a soloist and things like that, and Ronald Perry, who were in the company, but they were never principal dancers. And it was like, "Oh, you were first." I was like, "Oh, what?" I
Yeah.
mean, that's great, but thus that didn't pan out for me like that. Though I didn't get the chance to do the ballet things because I twiddled my thumbs there because people didn't either want to see me doing certain things. I learned a lot. I learned Romeo
Wow.
and Juliet. I learned this thing. I learned Giselle. Being offered in Giselle to come out and do the peasant, not so much. I didn't come to ABT to do the
Right.
peasant.
Yeah.
In character. I'm not in the heel, in walking around with those hard heels. No,
Yeah.
let
Right.
me do him. Let me do I came to do cover. Let me do that. So
Well, yeah, and life is short and art is long, so you made a choice to
yeah,
go find your bliss, to go find a place where you could manifest. And yeah, hopefully the conversation really starts shifting now. I mean, the conversation's happening, but like I say, let's do more than converse, really manifest,
the
let's really, and
manifest.
you've done that with
But I love
complexion.
that. But I love that word. It's so true, and I think I will continue to use that. Actually, let's let it manifest, because we can have a lot of conversation and get like a lot of things to do, and tidbits like
And checks.
checks. But if you don't manifest it and believe it,
That's right.
then you have to believe in your artist and believe in the people who are coming towards you, not just African Americans, but Asian Americans and all of it, but just human beings coming to the
Human
fold.
beings.
Because that's where we met on the stage. It was all about that. Like, we're in this moment and we're human. We're human. We're going to go to the end because that's what the audiences are going to relate to. In the end, they're going to relate to you as a human being.
Feeling you. Yeah. Desmond, I'm going to have to wrap up. There was another question but you've shared, it was basically an impactful sharing a favorite memory, but you've shared so much. So,
Oh, my favorite memory?
yeah, if you had a favorite or impactful, like one, I know you have many, but I don't know if from your creative life, something that comes up just.
Well, one really quickly is when I first worked with Michael Jackson.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
my first job, like my first commercial job when I was turning 18, and I did the Bad video.
Oh, wow.
And that was crazy. It was just before I got into the Alvin Ailey company and into the Alvin Ailey second company. And I went on a whim because it was in the backstage,
Yes,
back in the day, backstage.
yes.
And it was, I saw Greg Burge, and Greg Burge was the dancer who did Richie, the original Richie in Chorus Line.
Yeah.
But he grew up in my neighborhood in Queens,
Oh, wow.
in another little suburb of Queens. And I knew him. I was like, oh my God. And he was super kind of like him a little bit, where super flexible, dynamic dancer. Like he can sing, he can act, he did all those things. But he was doing the choreography, and I saw this, and I was like, wow, I'm just gonna go. And there was Michael Jackson in the room, and I was like, oh.
He was in the room?
He was in the room at that
Wow.
time, and it was pretty amazing. And we shot this in New York for 2 weeks at Horton Skimmerhorn Station, and I just couldn't believe it was all happening. It's the first time I met Martin Scorsese. He filmed the thing, and then Quincy Jones was there, and I was like, what's happening with my world right now? Like, all these things were happening. But thus I thought, wow, this was a moment in time that I needed to hone that in, because then I went on to work with Michael 5 other times in that history tour,
Wow.
American Music Awards, and things like that. And to work with Martin Scorsese and Quincy Jones and these other entities. And when I shared that story with them, they were like, "Ah, that's right, you were the little one," because I was the baby of. Everybody was taller than me at that time, but they made this. They gave me this Kangol, the glasses, and the hat to make me look a little rough and tumble. With Wesley Snipes, because Wesley Snipes went to school. He went to my school. He was 3 years older and up with me. But that was a really pivotal moment in commercial dance, because that kept my
Yeah.
mind open on that side, where I so wanted to do that too. And
Yeah.
those roads opened up when it was necessary to do so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Desmond, I know you have to go, so I have to wrap this up. There was one more question, but I'm going to let it go. It's just about if you have a movement or exercise that you engage in, some
Oh,
tip for or meditation or some tip for the audience.
well, I always stretch out my back, which stretches out my hamstrings. And the simplest thing is chin to chest, rolling down, hands on floor, bend the knees, tuck the head, and then
Beautiful.
slowly straighten the legs so that we can straighten the back of the hamstrings. As you know, when the hammies are right, your back is right, and everything else flows from there.
Exactly. I have the same thing with my quads. If my quads are stretched out, I'm okay.
You know, we are quad people, so I
Yes, we were.
gotta get these over shingles like right. I like to get them right.
Exactly. Desmond, my love, wow. We haven't seen each other in so long in this. I'm so grateful for this conversation, and thank you so much. I'm going to say a website, maybe you have one other to go to, but please go to complexionsdance.org for more information about Desmond, about Dwight, but about this amazing company, because they are doing stuff right now for you to discover. So please go. Is that, yeah? Do you have another website? We're on
Absolutely.
Instagram.
And on Instagram at complexions _ dance, and on Facebook as well under Complexions Contemporary Ballet. So we have a lot of things going on. We have our virtual intensives happening right now, which a lot of the students are just coming through, and it's beautiful to be able to give back in this way, and to actually be inspired by the youth that are coming. The dancers that are coming up right now are pretty fantastic. So I'm super excited.
Excellent. So I said that. Check. So Creative Vitality Jam sessions are twice a week. This was our extra special guest. This was our third time this week was Desmond. We got to get you. Please go to Creative Vitality Jam sessions that is the YouTube channel. So I will post on Instagram. I'll send to you as well, Desmond, when it's uploaded. Okay, so I'll do that. It takes a couple hours, but it'll be uploaded today. Our next session will be Mari Meade of the Mari Meade Dance Collective. She is the Mari Meade Dance Collective. She's an extraordinary young woman. You will find a short bio of Desmond in the description box below when it's posted to YouTube. Desmond, I love you. I want to say thank you to my wonderful intern, Gracie Spina, and thank you,
Gracie.
Thank you to our dance community.
Yes, thank you.
Keep reimagining creativity. Hope to see you sooner than later. Bye.
See you soon. Give a hug to Clemens.
I will.
See you all.
Bye.